everyone. This goes DeCarlo. Today we're going to be talking about manifesting. A lot of you are having challenges manifesting, and we want to talk about the why. And hopefully, what this will allow you to do is to be more persistent, consistent in your manifestation. I'm coming from Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra's play. Octavia Caesar says this: "It has been taught from the primal state that he which is was wished until he were." Many of us would say, what does this have to do with anything? And especially, what does it have to do with manifestation? Well, we're going to discuss that. When we're talking about manifesting, we're often told to get into a state akin to sleep and begin to imagine before you go to bed the thing that you desire. And many of us do this, and what we discover is when we access the state akin to sleep prior to going to sleep, we find ourselves nothing but sleepy. And so, of course, we don't find ourselves being successful in the manifestation. As I will often tell coaching clients and those who are on the various channels, you have to begin the process of manifesting the moment you wake up. Many of us, the last few moments before we go to sleep, we want to access a state akin to sleep. And then we say, well, this stuff isn't working because every time I want to access a state akin to sleep, I fall asleep. And this is common for many of us. But if you're living from the in throughout your day of whatever that desired manifestation is, when you begin to occupy that state, you're well on your way to manifesting the life that you desire. But you have to begin acting as if throughout your day. You can't think 50, 60, 70,000 negative thoughts throughout the day and then at the end of the evening get into a state akin to sleep and begin to think about what it is that you want to manifest and think that's going to undo all of your previous thinking up until that point. It's just not practical. This is why many of you are not manifesting the life that you desire. Caesar said this: "It has been taught from the primal state, from the very basic state, we understand that he which is was wished until he were." What does this say to you? We're talking about manifesting that which you desire. It says, he which is. Whatever you're doing at the present moment, we're told that we're always thinking ahead of our evidence. So he which is, were wished, thought in the past, brought forward until he were. Whatever you're thinking, contemplating, meditating upon, morning, noon, and night, that's the wish. That's the thing that you were doing in the past. But it's always played forward into your present. So it says, he, which is. Whatever your being is basically your state of being at the moment. He, she, which is, was wished, desired, thought about, meditated upon, until he, she was, or were in this case. As Mr. Lindo will often say, and as Neville had often said in his own talks, we're always thinking ahead of the evidence. Now, you say, well, coach, how can I know what it is that I've thought in the past? You need only to look at your present situation and understand that this is the byproduct of everything that you've thought up until this moment brought forward. Many times we think that thoughts advance back into the past and they're to bother us no more. But thoughts are always forecasting your future. So when we're talking about he or she, which is, you're always desired into your present state. Or in this case, we're talking about our future state. So this is why we often tell you to go to the end. And Covey says, do a thing with the end in mind. Neville said, do it with the end in mind. Whatever it is that you're desiring, you must begin to see your end as your current reality. Now, many of you say, well, Coach, how do I do that? I've never been abundant. I've never had a loving relationship. I've never had outstanding health. So how do I begin living as if I'm something that I've never experienced? We were masters at this as children. We called it make believe. We called it pretending. We called it fantasizing. But understand this: when you're practicing these exercises, the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what we call fact or fiction when it's being imagined with feelings. So when you begin to live out from your mental screen the thing that you desire, now you say, well, I don't have any previous experience in that. Then you can begin watching someone else who's successful in that endeavor and begin imagining them. Clothe yourself in their persona, clothe yourself in their confidence. Some of us say, well, coach, I'm pretending like I'm confident, but I don't feel confident. Do a thing and you shall have the power. As you continue to persist and consist in acting as if you're confident, the world without will begin to treat you as if you're confident. Little by little, you will begin to build a case for your subconscious mind for confidence. So, whatever it is that you desire, let's say more money, when you begin feeling as if you're abundant, that you're prosperous, that you have more money, and you begin practicing the actions of somebody who's abundant. Now, in practicing the actions of someone who is abundant, this doesn't mean to go out and get in debt. It means to become wiser in your transactions. It means to begin saving a little bit of what it is that you earn. It means to begin to giving and blessing others. Of course, always give to yourself first. Many people will use the book of Habakkuk and say that, will you rob God in tithes and offerings? And it says, give to my temple. But understand this: you are the temple of the living God. Give to yourself first and foremost, creators, when you begin practicing structuring abundance, prosperity, when you begin to organize your money, your resources, even the little that you have, and you say, listen, I'm going to put a little bit towards this bill first. Put it towards your smallest bill first. Begin paying that off. When you have the success of paying off your smaller bill, then it will become easier to pay off the next bill and the next bill and the next bill. This is how you get out of debt. But you don't get out of debt by spending more of what you do not have. When I say practicing a place of abundance, you do what abundant people do. Often you will use your gifts and your talents to make way for your abundance. But as the abundance begins to come, then, like I said, make sure that you take care of those debtors that you owe. It says that if we do not forgive others their debt, then our Heavenly Father will not forgive us of our debt or our trespassing. So make sure that you're making amends when all possible, because you don't want that energy maintained in your life. As we move forward, we talked about abundance, talk about relationships. You begin to act as if you're a person in a loving relationship. If you're in a relationship that's not beneficial, you may want to find a means to get out of that unhealthy relationship. Many of us, especially in this community, our goal is to set about to change other people. Don't allow changing other people to be your primary motive. Start with changing yourself, creators. As you begin changing yourself, what you'll discover is that other people around you will naturally change, and others that will not change or choose not to change, because we're all choosing, they will just fall out of your life. Focus on changing oneself. And as you begin transforming oneself, your world without will also change. Many of us have this confused, and we try to change the image in the mirror. We try to change the world without. We try to change those without. And we say, this stuff doesn't work. Focus on yourself, creators. And as you begin changing the within, the without will follow suit. It has been taught from the primal state that he which is was wished until he were. What is it that you desire to be, do, and have? First and foremost, desire that thing. Then you decide Don't ask for anyone's permission. You decide that I am that. I have that. I do that. Whatever it is that you want to be, do, or have, begin seeing yourself as the person has achieved, that owns the things that you desire. As you begin to practice be, do, and having, you'll begin to attract into your life that which you're be, do, and having. The more that you do this, what you're going to find is that the world is going to acquiesce, begin to take shape, take form, fashion itself after your predominant thoughts. Many of you will see this as merely make believe, but understand, as I stated earlier, the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference what it is that you're imagining and what you're be, do, and having with feelings. As you begin to imagine yourself be, do, and having that which you desire, you will begin to fashion your world after what it is that you've imagined. Many of you say, well, Coach, I've tried all this and I'm not finding that I'm very successful in any of it. Now, I'll say this. Scripture says, listen, the prophet Elijah was speaking to the people in his time because he was going against prophetess Jezebel. And he inquired with the people. He said, listen, how long will you vacillate? How long will you straddle? How long will you waver? How long will you be of the mindset of two opinions? He said, if the Lord be God, then follow him. But he said, if Baal, the god that many people at that time were worshiping, be God, and Baal was the god of nature, and so many of them were looking on the without instead of the God within. When you look at the name Elijah, this is God of gods. Elijah is saying, listen, look to the God within you. But if you want to focus on the God of circumstances, then worship that God of circumstances. But of course, what you will get is the result of circumstances. But when you begin to think according to what you want to be, do, or have, when that becomes your primary state of worship, that's going to also be your primary mode of manifestation. Now, you say, well, Coach, I've done all of this and I've done it for 6 months now and I'm not seeing any results. I've done it for even a few years, Coach, and I'm still not seeing results. My question to each one of you: how long should a child attempt to walk? Now, everybody says that's a no-brainer, Coach. A child should continue to walk until that child is walking. Likewise with your manifestation. When you occupy the state of abundance, a loving relationship, better health, how long should you endure? You endure until. Shakespeare said it this way: it has been taught us from the primal state, from the beginning, that he which was wished until when? Until he were. Until is the magic word. He was wished, desired, thought upon, contemplated, meditated, focused upon until he were. Until you bring about the desired end, you continue to see yourself being that person. Listen, we do this all the time. We enter into a new job or new place of employment, and at first we know nothing. But we continue to practice and we continue to be, do, and have until we become proficient, and then until we become expert in our new occupation. A person like Mr. Beast, for example, starts off on YouTube knowing nothing, and he perseveres for 10 years until he's the number one YouTuber on YouTube. How does that happen? Until he continued to put out the best quality of material that he knew how. Every time he learned something new, he implemented it. Creators, many of us in this community give you the impression that only thing you have to do is just think for a few moments and nothing else. And so many of you are frustrated because you say, listen, Coach, I thought for a few moments, I get into the state akin to sleep. I imagine myself be, do, and having. This has to become a lifestyle for you. Whatever it is that you desire, it has to become your new persona. If it's truly something that you desire, you don't do it for a few moments of the day and say, I'm done. It becomes who you are. And as you begin to clothe yourself in this new persona, all the world will begin to take shape to affirm who it is, what it is that you say that you desire to be. The problem with many of us, we're doing it from a place of hope so. If I can just hope myself into getting into the right state, and we're not occupying the state, we're not becoming the person that we say that we want to be. But if you want to be a successful singer, actor, whatever that thing is that you want, then you begin doing it until you bring about the manifestation. You don't operate from a place of hope, so you operate from a place of no so. And as you operate from that place of no so, as you begin clothing yourself into that new mindset, it's not an option. You can't allow it to be an option. Somebody said, what if my plan B doesn't work? The problem with plan B is that you've already made allowance for your failure of your plan A. You do the plan A until it is brought about or till you change your desire. If it's something that you truly desire, you live it out until you bring it about. Now, if it's just a wishful thinking or a hope so, or maybe I'll win the lottery, whatever that thing is, then understand you're not giving that thing your full attention. You have not occupied the state until we miss the mark of what's been told to us by Shakespeare through his character, Octavius Caesar. It has been taught from the primal state that he which is currently, whatever you being in your current state, was wished. Your reality brought from the past, whatever that thought was, is carried into your future. He which is was wished until he were. Don't be of two opinions. Don't be of a double minded. It says God despises the double minded person. He'd rather for you to be hot or cold instead of lukewarm. If you say that you want to be a thing, then you occupy the state of being that thing until you bring about that thing in your reality. But don't straddle both sides of the fence on hope so, or maybe, and if somebody on the outside can help me get into the right position. Those things may happen, but that's not your business. Your business is living from your desired end until that end is brought about. Listen, many of you are trying to do this by changing the without, the images on the without, the people on the without. Your job is to focus on you, your right thinking, your right thoughts that's carrying you in the direction of what it is that you seek to manifest. Let God take care of the without and the people that he's going to utilize and so forth, and the events and so forth. Your job is to see yourself be, do, and having that until you bring it about into your reality. But remember this, creators, that only you can create your perfect world, not God or man. Only you can create your perfect world. This goes DeCarlo saying have a great and abundant day.